I remember after the Ash Wednesday fires, a woman saying that only her garden had been destroyed, but she'd spent a lifetime collecting heirloom plants that had a particular significance for her family history, cuttings from rose bushes from her ancestors' garden when they came out from England and brought this original rose bush from the village where the family had been for many, many generations. And so the loss of her garden was really a loss of personal history and therefore loss of identity. And it was no good giving a new rose bush because it wasn't that rose bush. So nobody's in a position to make judgments about the significance of somebody else's losses, no matter what it looks like from the outside. But when we're in stress mode and when we're all talking about everyone to each other, we tend to revert to stress thinking, which is simple black and white judgments. Is it or isn't it? And there's a process that's been observed for about 60 years by sociologists looking after disasters called relative deprivation. Relative deprivation means there's a tendency for everyone to benchmark their losses against the losses that are most painful and tragic and obvious in their community. So people who've lost their houses will think that's nothing compared to people who've lost their loved ones. People who've lost their gardens and their sheds with maybe a lot of their money-earning equipment in it will think that's nothing compared to people who've lost their houses. People who've lost their houses will think that's nothing if they're insured and somebody else has lost their business. And when researchers look at this, they find it's actually very complicated. Even those people who live in the affected areas but don't suffer any material loss often have an experience of loss of community and a lot of emotional distress from something called survivor guilt, that they feel almost, people will say, I wish I had lost my house. It's so awful to feel I've got everything, my life continues as before, when everyone around me has had such a tragedy. And these are very complex problems, and some research has shown that it takes people who didn't suffer loss about twice as long as the people who did suffer loss to get back to the original positive feelings they have about their life, because they feel bad if they feel good compared to everyone else. Whereas the people who've lost can actually celebrate every new achievement. And in a way, they actually have a high morale for a time.